right, welcome everybody to today's virtual town hall. As you should have been notified, we will be recording this to send it out to everyone later. My name is Haley Bailey. I am the Director of Advancement of Vision Loss Resources. I just want a couple housekeeping items first. We are going to hear from Matt and then Grant, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. I ask you to please wait to be called upon and identify yourself before asking your question in recognition of the fact that we have low vision and blind individuals on this call. So it's always great to say who you are before you start speaking. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt.
Haley, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. We had a really good session yesterday here at Vision Loss Resources. I think a really good set of questions, and that's probably the most important thing. I'm going to start with that, which is this is all about VLR listening. When I think of the changes that have happened, not only in our industry, not only in our nation with the pandemic, but in particular here at Vision Loss Resources, it's really important to recognize that the vast majority of our senior team is very new to Vision Loss Resources, very new to who we are. And we want to capture the history and concerns that our community has, understanding that we're going to have to adapt and change based on both our financial challenges, our operational constraints, but also the desire of our board, which is absolutely fantastic to figure out ways to serve more Minnesotans. And that is the reason that I came here, a desire and a challenge to serve more Minnesotans. So with that, what I'd like to do is just give you a couple of observations on VLR based on this is the end of week 8 for me. And then I'm going to ask Grant, who's our Director of Programs, to just do a couple of his observations on what he's seen, and then we'll open it up for questions. So first, as I've noted, we've certainly seen a lot of turnover in our staff. And some of that, I think, directly relates to the challenges that the institution had when United Way in particular ended up withdrawing their funding. Now, I can't speak to that. I wasn't here then, but I do know, and for everybody on this call, it was approximately $500,000 of annual funding. And when that went away, VLR had to make some very tough choices. I know that that impacted, obviously, a lot of the community services, volunteer services, things like that. But candidly, $500,000 in an organization of VLR size, which VLR is about a $2 million operation, is a giant number to recover from. Second, when I think of our industry, there's a lot of changes happening. Serving low vision and blind individuals, as well as our deafblind colleagues on Deafblind Services Minnesota, continues to be our most principal challenge. How we do that, how we relate to people, how we give them the vocational skills that they desire to move ahead in the world is our mission. And as we think about that, what's important though is to remember that we had to make decisions both on financial but also operational that I know impacted some of our clients. So things like community, things like volunteer services. But I want to tell you right now, I can't imagine that Kate and the leadership team at the time were happy with those decisions. They were simply outcomes that people made in the best interest of moving VLR forward. That really also brings to mind one of the elephants in the room, and I wanted to address it, which is the move up here to Little Canada. As you're well aware, we have 3 operational units that are part of Vision Loss Resources. We've obviously got VLR, services to low vision and blind Minnesotans. We have Deafblind Services Minnesotans to our both adult and children's children who happen to be deafblind. But then we also have Contract Production Services, our fully for-profit company that I think there's been some misunderstandings about, and I want to lay those out very clearly. CPS is nothing new. It's been around for a number of years. And if you go all the way back to post-World War II, it was a supportive employment solution. So people who are low vision or blind worked for what would have then be the precursor to CPS, manufacturing things. In the late 80s, early 90s, the decision was made to move CPS to a fully for-profit company for a couple of reasons. One, it allowed us to go after clients that we didn't need the state of Minnesota to be engaged with. If we were hiring and we were a supportive workshop, we had some constraints on that. 2, from a tax perspective, we were able to move a lot of the costs of the 2 nonprofits, VLR and DVSM, into CPS. And that allows us to free up dollars to serve Minnesotans. That's an incredibly important point. And it's one that, I mean, candidly, not only was the right decision then, it's the right decision today. We moved to Little Canada to give CPS the best opportunity to grow and be profitable, understanding that the more they grow, the more profitable they are, the more dollars we can free up for serving Minnesotans on the social services side. Not only do I believe that was the right decision then, and it's the right one today, it was a real significant reason why I took this opportunity when the search committee asked me. I'm very intrigued, and while I make this with no assurance that it's true, but I very much believe that we are one of the few, if not the only nonprofits in the state of Minnesota that helps fund their operations with a fully for-profit business. Here in Little Canada, the move allows CPS to be more competitive. If you're familiar with the old buildings down in Lyndale and Franklin, it was 3 separate buildings built in 3 separate eras, very different floor plans. We now have a solution up here that is optimized for CPS. And again, their support makes VLR and DBSM possible. I'm going to share with you, though, an idea that I have, not a commitment, but an idea. When I think of CPS growing, and I do think of the challenges for our clients and our staff in reaching particularly our low vision and blind staff in reaching the location up here, I'm very aware that we're not on a transit route and that this isn't the most convenient location when I think of being central to the Twin Cities. We did have one individual yesterday at our town hall who actually said this is an incredibly convenient, location. That individual happened to be coming from Stillwater, and so it's significantly easier to get to than Lyndale and Franklin. However, that being said, I do think there's some merit in saying that if CPS continues to grow, which we have every expectation they do, and every desire that they do, there will come a time when I hope CPS will look at myself, our leadership team, and our board of directors and say, we need more space up here. And that would give us an opportunity to say, okay, where can we have services for our clients, for Minnesotans with low vision, blindness, or on the DBSM side? And would it be more convenient to be located in a more central location and conceivably on a light rail line or in the central part of between Minneapolis and St. Paul? So I think of locations along University Avenue, perhaps near Highway 280 or something. I mentioned this to State Services for the Blind. I've mentioned this to our board, and it's no surprise to our leadership team. And again, I wanted you to know that because I'm already thinking a couple of years out. This is a great solution for all 3 of our entities up here in Little Canada. Doesn't mean it's going to be the great solution as we grow CPS. We may end up with a different solution. And I'm open to considering those as we grow and move the business forward. Finally, I know that for our clients who do take Metro Mobility, there's been both good occurrences and perhaps a more challenging one. We've arranged a meeting where you're going to get a notification of it, probably, I don't think tomorrow, but early next week, where Metro Mobility is going to be holding an online town hall for as many of our clients who would like to talk to them and tell them what works and what doesn't. We've also talked with Metro Mobility about actually providing some training for them so that they have a better understanding of how best to serve our clients. And in both cases, they were very open to it. We are going to work with them to do an in-person town hall as well, but the first one, and again, this was not their desire, is just going to be online. I'd like to introduce Grant Smalzer, who is our Director of Programs. Grant joined Vision Loss Resources, I think about 9-10 weeks ago. He has extensive experience in developing and delivering curriculum to students, as you'll hear from his experience, on a worldwide basis, and we're incredibly lucky to have him. Grant, I'll turn this over to you for your remarks.
Thank you, Matt, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today, and thank you for coming out. As Matt said, I've been here all about a couple weeks ahead of him, so about 9-10 weeks since I've joined as well. And I'd like to share with you as well some of the thoughts and things that I've seen since I've been here as the Director of Programs. So one of the things that you'll hear consistent through today is this notion of being excited about the opportunities to grow here. And that's part of what I found in the last 9 months that I've been here, or 9 weeks that I've been here. As Matt said, previously I was leading an ed tech company here in town that specialized in higher learning, delivering general education courses online. And so there are many things that are very similar that I see here about bringing education, providing accessibility, and really making a difference in the lives of those who come through our doors. And what I've been doing here for the last 9 weeks is taking a look at the programs that we have and also working very closely with the staff. And I'd say the number one thing that we've been doing is, of the three things, is stabilizing the group. So there's been a lot of change, there's been a lot of turnover, there's a lot of concerns from the instructors. And so I've been spending a lot of time just stabilizing the staff, getting basic things in place so that we can continue to deliver high quality learning. The second thing I've done is taking a look at an analysis of all of the programs that we have and looking for opportunities to grow. And what I found is that we have some great things to build upon, some really good courses, some really good instructors, and looking at ways to package that up and deliver it beyond what we do today. So as Matt was talking about, an opportunity for the future is to deliver bigger, broader training to other places besides individuals just within adapting to blindness. So think about training other partners to be able to deliver better services, better access across different parts of the metro area. An example is, partnering with Minnesota Zoo, for example, and spending some time talking to them about how they currently serve our community and what needs to improve and how can we partner with them to be able to do that as well. So looking for other opportunities to expand beyond what we're doing to, again, provide that more growth. And then lastly, it's more of these partnerships. And so while I'm working closely with our state services and people who are very important partners to us, which most of the revenue comes through them, what other people can we partner with? What other partners can we find that would need same kind of services or additional services that we can help them with to better serve everyone and provide more access? So that's what I've been working on. That's what I look forward to doing in the future. And I think if we're successful, when we're successful, it'll be able to continue to add growth to our rehab services, our deaf-blind services, as well as the opportunities for our older adults as well. So I'm excited to be here, and I see nothing but really great opportunity to continue to grow and expand those things.
Grant, thank you. This is Matt again, and I'm just going to quickly sum up. 2 months ago, I joined VLR. I had been previously with the University of Minnesota, before that a variety of other organizations. And as I went through the search process, I'd like to capture something Grant just said. I am filled with optimism. I'm filled with a sense of positive change and the opportunities that we can create to have all three of our entities be very successful, to meet their objectives, and in particular for VLR and DBSM to serve Minnesotans. That was both exciting to me, but it also was a challenge. And so what you have my assurance today is I will be open, I'll be forthright, and I will tell you again and again how excited I am to be here. And with that, I'd like to also say thank you to the board members who are on this call. I think Ellen Conway and Vanessa Bond are both on this call. They are my bosses. They're the board of directors that hired me, that I report to. And it's my privilege and honor to work for them to serve Minnesotans. With that, Haley, I'll turn it back over to you, and you can call on people as we answer questions. Again, as a reminder, we're recording this, and we will make this recording available online in the email we send out, capturing the questions you've asked and how we're responding and any concerns you may have. So Haley, thank you.
And with that, we will take a first question. I ask that if you know how to use the hand raising sign to raise your hand. If not, please just come off mute.
This is Matt, and I have to assume that there's more questions that we did not answer every question. So please feel free to ask questions and we'll see what we can do. So Haley, back over to you.
Hi, this is Haley, and I see a phone number, so I'm going to read it out. I hope that's okay. It is 616-122-965893. Go ahead.
It's Bruce Cottrell, and I really appreciate the fact that you're doing this through the Zoom thing. I live in Burnsville, and yes, I could have made it out to the town hall meeting yesterday, but that's a distance, and I like the idea that you are continuing to use Zoom and make it more accessible. Especially, I've got a lot of friends that are outstate. I've got a friend from Delavan, Minnesota, and a number of places, Mankato. And for them to be able to perhaps access these things through Zoom and in many of these ways, I just hope that you continue to offer that option for people. And that's my comment.
Hey, sir, thank you so much. I couldn't agree more. And I think when we look at how technology has changed all of our lives, there is no scenario where we will not continue to offer this mixture of in-person for when it works, but also online, because online has proven itself, certainly the last 3 years, the leap of technology and the adoption of it by everybody, whether you're on a computer, whether it's on your telephone, this is the way to go. So thank you, and I couldn't agree more.
Other questions? Yes, Deborah, I see your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. My name is Deborah Karasov, and I've attended 1 or 2 meetings and support groups. Matt and your team, I apologize, I already forgot the name of the program lead. So much appreciate your optimism, your sense of how the different for-profit and nonprofit can interact. I love the spirit and the openness that you're bringing to the position. Congratulations on the position, by the way. What I've heard from different people with low vision is the lack of staff in the community area to meet with people, help them one-on-one, point them to different services in the community. Renee, I think, is the only person right now in a position called community specialist. I'd like to learn a little bit about your staffing goals as you think about the future. And then secondly, another thing that I've heard is the fact, one of the things that has been a problem with the Little Canada is the space, the community space for people with low vision to come together. So if you could address those 2 things, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Deborah, thank you. Great questions. And there were 3 things you mentioned. I'm going to start with the easiest one, which is thank you. I'm incredibly excited to be here. I'm passionate about this work. And as I've told any number of people, including my bosses, the board, as well as my colleagues, at the office, I am relentlessly upbeat. We all have challenges, but we're going to solve them. We're going to move forward. If I decide to be, not, sad isn't the right word, but perhaps a bit down, one of those days where you just feel clouds hanging over you, I do that at home. I'll find my own room space, and my wife will kick me out of wherever we're together, because at the office, we are going to succeed. And whatever challenges are out there, we'll overcome them. So you asked 2 questions. Regard to staffing, it really is driven by our finances. We're not in financial trouble, but I will tell you what we have is a situation today where we've spent a lot of money to be positioned for future growth. The move here again was the right move for CPS. They had literally, well, if you were down at Lyndale and Franklin, they had run out of space. It was not optimized to be competitive in their industry, and we needed to make that move. And so the move itself, though, both cost money from moving expenses, but also building expenses. Without going into the long and short of the real estate market, the property on Lyndale and Franklin over the last several years actually became less valuable. And so what was a starting price of approximately $5.5 million ultimately ended up being about $3.5 million when we finally closed on the property. That's just a reflection of the state of the industry, some challenges in Minneapolis, et cetera. So as we recover our finances, Grant and I and others will be looking at our staffing, but I really can't make commitments now because it's just not possible. I'm a huge multitasker. When I get in the morning, I make the coffee. Now, part of that is because then I get to make it the way I like it, but everybody here is going to be pulling double duty as we figure out ways to move our organization forward. Finally, as to your last question, that in part relates to the first comment I made about moving up here. I think we have a really good, and I'm going to call it classroom environment up here. It's exceptionally well organized. We've got nice space for our students, but I would also say it's not geared towards community. And we had a couple of people talk about that yesterday in the in-person town hall. where they said, having been up here now, they recognize this is more a classroom environment. And as I look to the future, it would be very hard to renovate or change this space, in part because it's brand new and we built it not even 6-7 months ago. But it'd be very hard to adapt what limited space we have up here on the VLR DBSM side to add community capacity. I think it's easier when I talk about the future, whether it's 12 months, 24 months, to envision changes. And again, I'm not committing to this, but as we grow CPS, I absolutely foresee the day that they will need this entire building. That being said, we also heard yesterday, can we partner with other organizations? Whether it might be Wilder Foundation in St. Paul, maybe it's community centers in the various communities around Twin Cities, whether it's Eden Prairie, we've got some events there that I know Renee's involved in. It might be Burnsville, it might be Blaine, I could rattle off all the suburbs. I'm absolutely willing to consider that. It wouldn't be permanent space, but it would allow us to do some events. But again, the challenge right now is just not having the financials to support that. But I think that is one way of building some community capacity without having to invest in real estate right now. Grant, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add to that from your perspective before we take the next question.
Thanks, Matt. I would echo what you're saying in terms of what we're doing right now. The other thing that I can say is specifically to the volunteer work, we're going through a process of taking a look at our current database and trying to figure out and basically getting back an update to say who are currently still volunteers, people who have either raised their hand or recently raised their hand. Go through that list, and there's a 50 some odd people that we're working through. Vanessa's helping me, and Amy Summers helping as well. Calling through and saying, are you still willing to volunteer? What's your schedule? What would you like to do? Where are you, etc. And then doing the same process on the people who have raised their hand and asked for services. And so that work is probably about halfway to 2/3 of the way done on just getting through to figure out who we actually have on each side and who's available. And then we'll go through a process of starting to reconnect those people. So we've paused for just a bit in terms of adding new people, but we're going back through our database and making sure it's updated so that we can plan for a way forward, specifically as it relates to things like readers and groceries and some of those types of things that we were helping with before in the volunteering program.
Thank you, Grant. Haley, over to you for the next question.
Do we have more questions for Matt or Grant?
Please, everyone, don't make me tell boring stories. Well, they're at least exciting to me. I always find humor in my own remarks, but very few other people do. But perhaps I could do this then. Well, and if there's no other questions, we're happy to leave a bit early. But otherwise, let me just recap something that's really important to me. I've learned in my own career, I've had great mentors, and I've had great people I've worked with who have reminded me, we don't always have to agree on the decisions we make together, but we have to make them transparently. When we make decisions and people are left guessing, why did you do that? Or I heard this, or I think this happened, that's counterproductive. I will promise you right now, we're going to make some tough decisions, but I will make them in the spirit of letting people know how we got to where we are and why we're making them. And as Grant just noted on the volunteer program, what's going to happen in the future. So again, I will be as transparent and open as I possibly can, understanding that I've got to make sure my bosses, the board of directors, know what I'm doing first. Haley, I do think we've got another question, but I'll let you call on the individual.
Yep, it's Haley speaking. So I think it's you, Bruce, with phone number 5893. And then after that, the person with the phone number 9343.
Okay, I'll just make my comment here. I am not a technology guru, but in the last, let's say a year and a half with Renee's positive input, I've learned to go online and get my groceries from Instacart and get my wine and my beer from various locations and pay my bills online. What I'm going to continue to suggest is that with the staffing that you have, Grant, continue to do some of these technology-related concerns. As blind people, we all feel vulnerable if we don't have someone to assist us in certain projects. But due to technology out there, there are ways to circumvent those issues. And I'm just letting you know that Renee and others have been extremely helpful to me in learning to use some of these various technological aspects. And that's my comment.
So this is Grant. Thank you for that comment. I know that Renee's working really hard, and I'm glad that you are able to see value in that, and that you can get the things that you need, because we all know we need things like groceries and beer and wine to get us through our daily lives. So I appreciate that. One of the things I will share with you is, again, my background is online education, and I've seen the value of being able to leverage technology for learning, connections, for group work, all those types of things that you're talking about. And so I appreciate that feedback. I also, in one of the things that we've been thinking about a lot of, is other kinds of packages that we could deliver that would help enable the use of technology by folks like yourself, other groups that we could go out, train on, help with. And so you can imagine that there's a whole nother side to adjusting to blind training that's different around, have you thought about using an Echo Dot? Have you thought about doing this? Here are some ways that you can make it really easy to leverage technology in your home. And being able to package that up and deliver that in a way that allows, a one-to-many kind of a relationship is something that we're very keen on. So thank you for kind of reinforcing our kind of crash test thinking that that's, something that there's probably a good need for. So I appreciate your comments on that.
Thank you. This is Haley, and the person whose phone number ends in 9343. Go ahead.
Hi, Matt and Grant. This is Linda Waltz, and I just want to say that you're like a breath of fresh air, both of you, and welcome. And I appreciate the backstory of how we got where we are that we didn't have before, and it's very easy to have confidence in you.
Linda, thank you. The best thing I can say is thanks for your comments right now, but I'll tell you what, both Grant and I and Haley and the leadership team here will earn your confidence moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is Haley. Do we have any other questions? Ellen, I see your hand is raised. Go ahead. Ellen, you're still muted. This is Haley again. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Okay, is that clear now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Matt and Grant, for being here today. I do really appreciate it. One of the concerns I have is cleaning up and making sure the email distribution lists are correct. I mean, how do you know if you have all of the clients on a distribution list to invite them to meetings like this? I mean, what are we doing to make sure the community is identified and properly included in whatever communications need to be sent out?
Ellen, thank you. This is Matt. Ellen, I'm going to take a first couple of comments, and then Haley, perhaps I can turn this over to you, but that is extraordinarily important, as you noted. I have a long personal experience. I won't bore anybody with it, but I started working in the email industry over 30 years ago, and distribution lists and list management, it kind of comes and goes. People think they understand what's going on, and then before you know it, half of your list is outdated, and you need to stay on top of them all the time. Otherwise, you lose your clients, you lose your friends, you lose the people who have that shared experience. So I couldn't agree more. And Haley, perhaps you can touch on what we're doing today and how we'll move forward.
Yep, it's Haley speaking. And so what we're doing with our marketing and communications is we use a platform called MailChimp. And with MailChimp, if anyone unsubscribes from any email, then they unsubscribe from all of the emails. So that is something that I want people to be aware of. I also do try to regular uploads of people's email addresses, both clients, students, alumni, donors, other community partners into that platform to send out the emails that we send out. I've also been using our social media platforms to make sure that we're just pushing out information in that way as well. And we also are trying to get people to sign up for the newsletter, which gives us your email address. But unfortunately, Ellen, if we don't have that information and we don't have email addresses for all of our clients or all of the people that we serve, then right now we're not in a place where we can be sending out regular print materials. That is something that eventually we would like to have the budget for, but we just aren't capable. We don't have that budget right now to do it that way. Did that answer your question?
Well, it did and it didn't. My concern is, let's say someone wants to be on a email distribution list. Who do they contact? How do they know what to do? I mean, I feel like there's a black hole someplace, and I'm not sure how people would get connected.
This is Matt. Ellen, absolutely. Haley, here's an idea, and I know we promote it, but in our next newsletter, let's put in a little paragraph and say, here's how you sign up for the electronic newsletter, and please share this with your friends and colleagues and relatives, even if they're not getting the email, or perhaps their email address. Because Ellen, complete agreement, the more people we can put into our database, the more we can both keep them updated. There was some great comments yesterday in the in-person town hall about building a more comprehensive list of events that go on, both our events, but also other people's events, where we can say, here's other things that are happening in the Twin Cities that you may be interested in. And I would like to make sure that when we do those things, we're letting as many people know as possible. So Haley, you and I can think a little bit more to Ellen's comment about how to promote that.
Thank you.
This is Haley speaking again. Any other questions that we can answer for you today?
Okay, this is Matt. I think what I will do then is I'll thank everybody for attending this online town hall. This will not be the last time that you hear from myself, from Grant or Haley. If you are using technology and not ordering beer or wine, which by the way, I strongly endorse, but if you're just using technology to look what's happening in the world, take a look at our webpage. You can contact me by email. My phone number is listed. I want to talk to people. I think that the more I can learn, the better I will be informed to make the decisions that I need to make. So I'm going to thank everybody for participating on this call. And again, what you're going to get from this leadership team today and in the future is open transparency, but positive. We are going to find ways to succeed in a very tight financial market, in a very tough economy. As many negatives are out there, I accept those. But what you're going to find from this leadership team and from VLR is relentless positivity in serving Minnesotans. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you so much for joining us today. Bye-bye.